Greetings, viewers. Nadida here, bringing you my thoughts on the Mulan remake that came out last year. Yes, I know the bandwagon's come and gone, but if my Pokemon Sword and Shield video is any indication, I don't care if something is still a bandwagon or not, if I feel I've still got something to say about it. You know, I was probably one of the people who's more indifferent towards Disney making remakes of their old classic movies than anything. I didn't get the dislike for them initially, but after some thought, yeah, I can see why people would take issue with the Beauty and the Beast remake, but I did unironically enjoy the remake of The Jungle Book. Then Disney remade The Lion King and they stripped away all of the charm. Part of me is hoping Disney's trolling everyone by saying they're gonna give Simba's Pride the remake treatment, but given they thought the Maleficent movie needed a sequel, I'm not sure what's going on in their heads anymore. Well, I do have one idea. It genuinely feels like they were banking on nostalgia and half-assed everything else that wasn't the visuals, except having Can You Feel the Love Tonight take place during the day, and that's the feeling a lot of people share about the Mulan remake. Oh no, I'm sorry. They took inspiration from the Ballad of Mulan, even though there's only like one reference to the ballad, and they completely kill the point of that bit.
Black Queen and I rode alongside, two rabbits running side by side. I think one was a male, one was a female.
Yeah, you shouldn't have been able to tell the difference. The hairs were a metaphor for there being no difference between men and women when they are fighting a common foe. Did these guys just not know what salty is? Originally, this movie was meant for theaters, but then COVID happened. Thanks, China!
You're welcome.
So it had to be moved to Disney Plus behind a paywall. I chose to buy the DVD, and by the time I've scripted and recorded all of this, the movie would have found its way into my sister's hands, and I feel so bad for my niece and nephews having to watch this. I'm also going to be having my Fox and a fair use icon on screen at all times during this video, just to be sure that there is no possible way that Disney can try and take this down or block it worldwide. When the movie starts, we see Mulan as a child, a happy little girl, chasing a chicken all the way up to the roof of her village, and manages to save herself from a nasty fall using her chi. Chi, or rather ki, is believed to be a vital force that can be found in every living thing. Not some sort of magical superpower that makes you really athletic or anything. I could be wrong, but Jackie Chan Adventures seem to have a better understanding of chi, even though one of its main characters used chi in his magic to thwart evil. This movie gives me flashbacks to Tenjho Tenge, where chi could be used from letting people hit harder during a fight to mending broken bones. Mulan's mother also thinks that because no one can use chi, it'll cause people to call her a witch. You know, I used to read a book about Chinese fairy tales and folk tales, and I don't remember there being any mention of witches. The Chinese word wupo can translate to witch, but it can also mean devil, monster, goblin, and phantom. So it would have made more sense for her to fear that people would accuse her daughter of being any of these things rather than a witch. The movie also says that only men are allowed to use chi, but if a woman uses chi, oh, then she must be outcasted, which just gives me a War of the Sexes vibe. Sexism was a thing in the animated film too, but that was handled a lot better. Rather than conform to what a woman was expected to be, Mulan became a hero by staying true to herself, combining the physical training she'd received with quick and clever thinking. There's more I want to say, but I'll save that for later. In the 1998 video, the main villain Shan Yu had a falcon. In the 2020 film, the falcon's a witch who can transform into birds, and well, the movie leaves it ambiguous as whether or not she can transform into people or just take possession of them. Maybe both. The witch is with not Shan Yu because she wants acceptance, even though his band of Roran marauders don't respect her, and she says she could easily rip not Shan Yu apart with her talons. She never makes such a threat again, and in fact dies in the movie by taking an arrow from Mulan because the writers apparently thought a totally unexpected heel turn worked so well in Maleficent, it would work here. here. John Soto speculates in his review of the movie that the witch might be based on a character from the Sweet Tongue Romance, where a female character goes from an antagonist to an ally. That's some nice speculation, I'll admit, but considering all the writers for this were white and got so much about the Chinese culture wrong that I wouldn't expect them to know that. Like I said, I couldn't find anything that had the witches in old Chinese folklore, so it would have been better if this witch was some sort of spirit who knew about not Shan's hatred for the Emperor for killing his father, that if they joined forces, he could have his revenge and then she would kill him once he was of no further use to her. But I guess that wouldn't work because Disney tried to make this realistic and true to the Ballad of Mulan, which is why they removed Mushu and the spirits of the Wall family ancestors. Though, and maybe I'm just crazy, but I don't remember any mention of phoenixes or witches in the Ballad of Mulan. So yeah, Disney replaced 2 fantasy elements with 2 more fantasy elements.
Genius!
When we get to the training camp for the Emperor's army, we're introduced to cricket. He serves no purpose other than fan service to the '98 movie. Also, really, the writers couldn't have used any Chinese word for cricket for this dweeb's name. We also get Chen, who's clearly meant to replace Shang Li as Mulan's love interest. See, they cut out Shang because the only reason they end up together at the end of the film is because he had power over her while they were in the army. Except no, Shang had no idea that Mulan was a woman until Shan Yu slashed her with a sword and she needed medical attention, and it's only implied they become a couple at the end of the movie where he was no longer her commanding officer. Chen's a boring character. I find his fixation on Mulan uncomfortable, and I can't tell if that was intentional or not. If they want to imply that Chen's bi, well, the LGBTQ community had already latched onto Shang as a bisexual icon. I'd also say that Chen's here to replace Ling Yao and Chen Po, but no, they're here too.
I don't care what she looks like.
I agree.
I care what she cooks like.
That was truly cringeworthy.
Yeah, they're also just here for fan service. You know, it was here that made me start thinking that maybe this movie has an anti-male agenda. We got that vibe from the Maleficent movie, where King Stephen becomes an antagonistic madman, and Prince Philip is just as superfluous as the prince in the Snow White movie. But maybe that's just me misreading things, and this seems rubbing me the wrong way, as it tries to pander to fans of the animated film, and utterly fails. When Mulan reveals that she's been a woman the whole time, Chen and the fan service characters immediately stand with her when she says the Rohans are going to attack the Imperial City. None of them have really bonded with her, and this just comes off like they're now simping for her because they want in her pants. The training scene is completely boring. I don't care at all how impressive the commanding officer swinging around swords is meant to be. I was just too busy keeping my brain from turning off the whole time. While I wasn't impressed with Make a Man Out of You as a kid, I have better appreciation for it now, because it shows that Mulan and the guys she eventually becomes friends with progress during their time training. They start out worthless, but gradually improve through their determination and become genuine friends. Here, I don't get any sort of sense of camaraderie, and that's probably because I can't bring myself to care about any of the characters here, probably because none of the protagonists die. Even in the final confrontation, no one on Mulan's side dies, or even gets visible injuries when fighting the Chinese ninja Rohans. The movie does the whole scene where the army comes across a burnt down village, and we're meant to feel sad, but I can't for 2 reasons. 1. It's clearly a set, whereas everything else in this film has been shot on location in New Zealand. Second reason, in the '98 film, Shang's father, who was a general, took his own soldiers to get off the Huns, only for us to discover that his father and soldiers had been slaughtered by the Huns along with the village. This is a turning point in the movie. Whereas mostly everything had been all lighthearted before, the men under Shang's lead realized that this isn't some sort of game, and they are all in very real danger of being being killed. We also care about this scene because Shang's father had confidence in him, and now Shang has lost his father. I don't care about this village in the 2020 film because there's no genuine sense of horrified realization or loss for anyone involved. They also took out all the songs in this movie. Oh, there's still music. It's just that no one sings in this movie. Yeah, Disney thought in order for this to be taken seriously, no one should sing. I mean, who ever heard of soldiers singing, right? That'd be totally unrealistic. General discovers that Mulan has ki, and, thinking she's still a man, tells her, don't hide your secret, embrace it. Essentially saying, go ahead and use your magical superpowers to get an unfair advantage over your comrades. And she does just that, succeeding where she struggled before, not through her own physical strength and determination, but the magical superpowers she was born with. Even if you don't like the song itself, what made Make a Man Out of You great was that in the end, you see Mulan use her mind to succeed where she had previously failed when she was just using her own physical strength. Here, Mulan just lets the chi do all the work for her. When Mulan sheds her armor and fights the Ruan army, is where at long last I can agree with everyone else when they call her a Mary Sue. She just kicks all kinds of butt and doesn't even get so much as grazed by an enemy's sword or arrow. And none of the enemies thinks to grab her long flowing hair and hold a blade to her throat from behind. Because one person rushing an entire horde of bandits and not being overwhelmed or inconvenienced at all is totally realistic, right, Disney? You know, even if people nowadays want to call Goku a Gary Stu, I think they either forgot or are unaware that when Goku was a kid, although he was unusually strong, he wasn't as strong as when we reached Super. He actually faced opponents that were either his equals or his superiors. He and Grin were arguably equals as kids, and his greatest rival prior to the King Piccolo arc was Tien Shinhan. Yet he was able to use the Kamehameha wave after watching Master Roshi use it once, but I think that was more for the sake of comedy after Roshi had told him it would take him 50 years to learn. Even then, Goku had to go through a massive amount of training from Roshi to become even stronger than he already was. And after that, Goku was the student of Korin, Kami, King Kai, and Whis to get as strong as he is now. In the moral arc of the manga, Goku trains so he can consciously use Ultra Instinct rather than his body just reacting. In other words, Goku actually had to work and be pushed to be as strong as he currently is, whereas this version of Mulan is invincible simply because Disney chose to make her that way from childhood. There's also the fact that Goku is flawed. He's far from the brightest star in the sky, and his natural love of fighting causes him to make foolhardy decisions, namely letting someone go after they tried to kill him and his friends. Mulan's flaws only come out when she holds back her chi, and when she reveals herself to be a woman, she begs to be executed like she's some sort of martyr. I'm just about done with this movie. If you unironically enjoy it, good for you. You can obviously see past the ocean of negatives, but I and others simply can't enjoy this movie. It's a bad remake that doesn't have any of the charm of the original film, and misunderstands the concept of the original story as a whole. It was made simply because Disney wanted to pander to the Chinese audience, as well as fans of the '98 movie, and it just ended up pissing off both audiences. This is not that I saying thanks for letting me share my thoughts. Please share yours with me.